Hello, and welcome to another American Photo Trucks post-processing video. I'm Dave Soldano, and in this one, it's going to be a shorter one where we've returned from Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming, and we had some questions during the workshop. Linda brought it up, and it was echoed by a couple others too, about how I go about blending different exposures of a high contrast image, and what HDR program do I use and that type of thing. And although this seems pretty basic for our workshops, we've been doing workshops now. We're up to 40 of them that we've done, and we bracket a lot, and we do a lot of high contrast situations. We just enjoy that kind of stuff. But it's been a while since we talked about how to blend these high contrast images. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate here. Again, you can follow along with me here. I'm David. Hi. And every time I press any kind of button or anything like that, it's going to appear right there, so you can follow along with me, and you can pause and as you need to. So here's one of the best examples of a super high contrast image we took during the workshop, which was the Moulton Barn at sunset. The sun is setting almost directly in back of this barn. So this was just a fun image I took. I wanted to see if I could get this really cool sky reflecting in this little bit of water in front of the barn. So I went down low. But as you can see, just a dramatic, very difficult exposure. I think here, this is the even exposure. So this you can see we get a little bit of the sky, we get a little bit of the foreground, but the barn is almost completely black. There's really just no one single exposure that's going to get this. So I bracketed 9 shots just because it was so dramatic. I wanted to make sure I got what I needed. So I'll pick this medium exposure here, and then I'll also pick, this is the -4. I like this. I'm going to go with, and this is just kind of my gut, I'm going to go with the -4. This is the -2 and the regular. I don't want to bring all 9 of these in, because like the one that's really blown out here, that's just going to make things too difficult, and I don't need it. I've got plenty of information in my foreground where I don't need to bring in this big +3 picture. So I'm going to do my proper exposure, my -4, my -2, and then want to make sure I get that barn. Little dark here. This looks like is going to get it. So I'm just going to pick these 4 pictures as the ones that I'm going to blend together. And you can kind of see why. This one's got everything I need in the foreground. Plus you can see the front of the barn. These have got all that good information in the sky, and this is my even picture. Now all I'm going to do is I'm pressing Control to highlight them, and then I'm going to double click, which will open all 4 in Adobe Camera Raw. And there they are. And so like here you can see this one is the, I think -4, -2, plus. So there they all are. So what I'll do is first I am going to go ahead and select them all. Just that little thing right there, select. The only thing I'm going to turn on is remove chromatic aberration. I want to get that done before I blend them into HDR. And I'll go ahead and even out just in case it didn't come out. Now I'm going to leave all that as it is, and I'm just going to go ahead and say merge to HDR. Now this says HDR, but it's not what you typically think of as HDR. It's really just an exposure blend, so it's not going to have that high contrast, crispy HDR that really isn't that popular anymore. It's simply going to be an exposure blend. And so you'll see what I mean here in just a sec. And these are pretty large files, 42 megs each. taken with the Sony A7R2. And so deghosting, that would be for any movement in the shot, and that would be highlighted in this in this red. So we'll say merge low seems to be fine because it was on a, you just name it, whatever you want to name it. I didn't name it anything. And there it is. I mean, you can see right there, it's taken the best of all of this and merged it together. And this didn't come out quite the way I hoped. You really can't see a good reflection in here. And I don't think HDR merging is going to do anything with it. And here you can just, you know, take Adobe Landscape is a good profile. Let's see what auto does. Auto is probably closer to real, but I'll warm it up just a tad. And then the contrast. Highlights look about right. And some whites there maybe. The dehaze will bring a little bit more definition to the clouds. And then I'll use a graduated filter up here. And I messed that up, didn't I? And with this graduated filter, I can add a little bit more warmth just in the sky and take the exposure down just a little to make it a little bit more dramatic, like that. And by contrast, I can add a new one, maybe just play with this water right here. Try and get a little bit more out of it. And I don't know if there's really a lot there. Then you can take an adjustment brush, and I'm going to reset it. And right here, we want to be able to see this barn a lot better. So I'm going to paint this barn, and right now nothing's happening because you can show the mask. That's where I painted. But now I'm going to turn up the exposure a little bit. And I got a little bit of what I didn't want, did I? So I'll clear that, make my brush a little smaller. There we go. Bring up the shadows so you can see the barn just a little bit more. And then you can go on and, you know, process the image. But what's important here is that this does a real good job of exposure blending. And it's just one real good way to do it. You know, you definitely could cut and paste and blend these together. You could use a luminosity mask, which is more complicated, but gives you a whole different kind of result. But that is a very basic, straightforward way to show how to handle a really tough exposure situation. And here you can see, you know, here's where the barn and all of this is in proper exposure, but this is just blown out. And here's where the sky is in good exposure, but you can't even see the barn because it's so dark. And then here's how you blend them all together. And that's as simple as that. So thank you for watching, and thank you for attending another American Photo Trucks workshop. We really enjoyed the Tetons this year. We enjoyed it for both summer and fall colors. Got some shots that I was really happy with. I hope you all did too, and hope to see you on another American Photo Trucks workshop. Have a great one, everybody. Bye-bye. Oops.